And so if these move forward as proposed today, it would be about $500,000 in a budget amendment request that we had planned to bring on your October 22nd.
Real quick before we leave that slide, Shannon alluded to it, and I think it's worthy of mentioning, especially on the parking enforcement. There are some different ways that we can go about that piece, and our intention was to leverage technology, and the more technology we can leverage, that number might be able to come down. We can look at different staffing options for that. So I think there potentially could be some significant play in that number. But as Shannon pointed out, this is, I won't call it worst case scenario, but this is probably highest case scenario, but it could come down significantly depending on where we go with that item. Discuss that further.
What's the ramp up time for, is there like a ramp up time for some of these things if we see it's a problem and we want to kind of do it, not at the beginning, but if there's a problem later, start it up? Is that a thing that can be done?
From like a staffing perspective?
I guess any of those items, but probably the biggest dollar one is probably the most important. But like, let's say we start in January and we get to March and it's fine in January, but by February it starts getting bad. We want to do it in March. Is that a thing we can do that quickly?
I'd say for most of these, if we want to be ready for January, we need to keep moving forward now. If there's not interest in moving forward with some of these, I can give you, or we can kind of talk through how long would it take if we started partway through.
Okay.
But this one's just an update. So delaying and phasing construction. The request from the downtown businesses was start in January. We agreed with that. We included a phasing plan in the bid document so that part of the parking will stay open during construction. We are required the weekly status reports that were discussed so that we can keep stakeholders informed. The bids have been opened, and TID is preparing for bringing that contract to you for you to award it. And we are still expecting a January start for construction. The parking duration revisions that was on your January agenda, approved those, or sorry, it wasn't on the January agenda. I believe it was August. You approved those with an effective date of January 2nd, 2025. As part of the parking duration revisions, we are working on a signage plan to remove some of the signs that are currently downtown, replace those with new signs that will make people aware of the new time restrictions. There is a cost to do that. This is a conservative, very conservative estimate of $10,000 to fabricate and install all of those signs needed. Parking enforcement. So this is the one where we just haven't gotten to have all of the discussions needed for what it will take and how we want to implement enforcement. So it is a conservative estimate that we brought to you today. It has been determined that parking enforcement will be handled by the police department. They completed meetings with multiple technology vendors. Because we aren't doing metered parking, there's some difficulty in use of technology. We have also met with the city of Raleigh to talk through best practices with them, and they did recommend that we do parking enforcement in-house if it's something that we will continue with after construction. So the current proposal includes hiring of 2 full-time parking and traffic control technicians. They would be in the traffic safety unit. Those are civilian positions. They would be responsible for parking enforcement, and then they could also be deployed to traffic incidents to help with management of traffic if there's a crash or if a light malfunctions. So again, Randy noted that there's some other ways we could do this, but this is the conservative cost approach. Estimated salary and overhead are included, vehicles, the equipment that they would need, So we did break this down into one-time cost, which is the green aspect of that, the setup for the new employees. And then if we continued enforcement, there would be an annual cost to the personnel.
So what if we break this up and focus on just the enforcement for it? Because this to me feels like a budget request from the police department, not something specific to this project. Right, and so this, this right here is half the cost of what you're showing us today. But again, like we're packaging more in here than just the parking enforcement for the purpose of our Saunders Lodge work. I'd like to see that separated out and say, okay, like if we just do the enforcement for the Saunders Lodge, what of this list do we need and at what cost? And then if the police department wants to make a budget amendment or a budget request, either going into next fiscal year or even ahead of that fiscal year, I think we really need to look at it separately and not package it into this project.
Okay, so the staff cost for parking enforcement only without other responsibilities.
Right, exactly. Because like, I don't, the police department's across the street from the lot, right? Do we really need two vehicles, right? If they're just doing parking enforcement, I understand if you're saying, okay, no, we want them to respond to crash sites and then, other things, okay, that starts to make a little bit more sense, but that's really beyond the scope of the Saunders Lot project, right? And I think we need to look at that separately.
Okay.
And to your point, that's exactly why we were trying to caveat and asterisk this a little bit, is to have that exact discussion. I think part of the problem we need to look at is if you do it just for this project, that's 8 months, and can you hire people and once the
Again, temps or,
right,
whatever.
right? Looking through that as an option versus a permanent solution that can also do this, but to exactly your point is why we were trying to caveat this.
Yeah, I think we can sharpen the pencils, have some more discussions on this particular one. Break down the numbers a little bit. Captain Roger, do you want to mention anything about this one today or just,
It's hard to hear back here on some of the conversations about this year about breaking it out. So I will say the difficulty is going to be staffing, right? For us, just because we don't necessarily have the staffing for downtown to dedicate to downtown parking, right? That's the difficulty we run into with this when it comes to the Saunders Lot project, right? Because it affects the whole downtown, but we can definitely look at this and come up with different strategies.
And so my rationale here is like, if we really got civilians anyways, right, then, you could probably just use temp or contract labor for the duration of the parking lot construction period, right? This is really more of a permanent addition to the PD staff, which I think needs to go through the normal budget cycle, not considered a part of the project.
Yes, sir. We can work on that. So we can take it back.
Thank you.
Since I have here, I do have a question. I was going to hold for the end. But, these traffic enforcement are going to be civilian positions. Do we have any concerns about, why they should be civilian as opposed to sworn officers? Is there an issue that, is that not going to be a problem? Or?
There's not when it comes to parking enforcement. So getting away from the Saunders, this was more of we've seen issues across the town when we have accidents with people using side streets, things like that. So this was the kind of a strategy to deal with multiple problems at one time, right? So, but when it comes to parking enforcement, no issue with civilian. It's actually, I think, better to utilize civilians for that. Kind of takes away the muddy waters, right? Because especially since we took the penalties and made them civil in nature. So it kind of, in my opinion, it kind of unmuddies the waters. So,
I don't know, that helps out because as we're Councilmember Zimmerman's point of, where we should probably put this budget in terms of the budget. It sounds like that's still part of a larger issue in terms of for police, and probably something we need to consider in that larger picture.
right. Yes.
Are there any opportunities for parking enforcement just in this lot without this budget item?
I'm sorry, sir.
Are there any opportunities for parking enforcement at any level of service without this budget item? Or is this reflective of the staffing issue where we just can't do it once we're
It's possible, but it wouldn't, I think to have somebody dedicated to downtown for those issues would not be right now with our current staff. Does that make sense? So it would be like, we see a problem, we call and we send somebody over there to look into it, kind of thing, right? Minus whether we do contracted or whatever we look at, right? With the current staffing we have, it would be, hey, we're having a problem over in the Saunders lot, we send it off. Because I think the issue we're dealing with right now is the town, not a bad thing, but it's grown really rapidly, right? And our zones have gotten really big. So trying to keep up with that, the call volume we're trying to take care of plus that, right? So that's kind of where we stand on. So we can, to answer your question, it's just not going to be somebody dedicated to that piece, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking more about bridging the gaps between if this becomes an item for next year's budget discussion, we're talking July. So is there an opportunity to do something between January and July, or is it not going to happen? Trying to get a sense of the impact of that.
It'll be difficult, I mean, but we can make something work, I would think. So.
And I will say the parking team approached this as a permanent need for enforcement based on the ordinance, the revised timing that was passed, that was, not extended just for construction. So we looked at this as something that would continue.
Enforcing the ordinance.
Exactly, and we looked at this like big picture too, because we have all these neighborhoods that are having parking issues and all kinds of stuff, right? And I get that kind of gets into the budget request item, but that's kind of how we were looking at it, to let you know where we were coming from.
I see how Saunders leads to, right? But I think there are two different steps where you start with Saunders enforcement and then scale into what permanent positions. And just from a finance perspective, I think we need to look at that separately.
We'll definitely take it back. Yeah.
But I think the other thing that we should mention is you brought up the bids. Can you read to us what the bids were? Someone, I think it's relevant to this conversation.
I don't know, Russell and Chris, if you are able to provide information about that today.
This budget was $2.5 million too, a little bit over.
It's 37. Or about 33% over.
Okay. I'm gonna keep going, so I know keep on schedule as much as possible. But that's one that we'll take a little closer look at. So the next strategy is a communication plan. Stacy has listed here key messages, which include the timing, that we'll continue to engage. We have been engaged with downtown stakeholders on mitigation strategies, the phasing aspect. That's not a mistake there. We're working on a walk shed analysis of how many parking spaces we can, claim with certainty are public and within 5 to 10 minutes of downtown Apex. And then reiterating that downtown Apex is open for business and, come out and visit our local businesses. There'll be some slightly different variations in the messaging, reaching town residences, surrounding town visitors, for town employees, the council, and then downtown businesses, as well as the news and media. She's planned a variety of tactics across, print, digital tactics, social media. You'll see it includes WRAL, News and Observer, that was specifically requested from our downtown stakeholders that we go out to the media, Gary Magazine, Suburban Living, and then a fence wrapping, which would go on the fence that would be put up around the construction site at Saunders Lot. Here's the budget estimate breakdown. So the fence wrapping is the biggest expense there. Utility bill inserts, we kind of grouped the different print material, and then the advertising. In total, communications and marketing is just about 30,000. Comments or questions on that one? So the police department did a safety and security analysis based on the feedback from our stakeholders for both the pedestrian route from Town Hall to downtown, so using the strollway, and then from the new Moore Street lot to downtown. We have detailed recommendations. Did a really great job, which I've just briefly summarized here, but you'll see they include additional wayfinding signage, cameras. We'll ask CSX to avoid blocking the strollway. Tree trimming, a lot of that's already been done on the strollway. More lighting, and then bigger items include emergency call boxes, direct line to police department, and and then the additional surveillance cameras. Those were the bigger items for both locations. There were some recommendations for longer term pedestrian connection improvements, which will need to go into our CIP. We didn't include those in the request here. There's a breakdown for the requested safety and security strategies. Cameras are the most expensive item, followed by call boxes and then the additional lighting.
So the wayfinding, I don't see that on the budget. That must have been a different place, but is that gonna be permanent wayfinding?
No, so the permanent wayfinding won't be in place in time for the Saunders lot construction.
Okay, we have that in the plan though, right? Permanent wayfinding.
We do have permanent wayfinding in our plan. So what
Okay.
we're proposing is temporary wayfinding.
Right.
We actually included that in the communications budget.
Okay.
So it would be mock-ups basically of our permanent signage that we'd have in place during construction. For town employee parking, town employees will be avoiding the Saunders lot, Seaboard lot, Indigo lot during construction. The main departments that are affected are Parks and Rec, Economic Development, Police, and then Fire. And I've listed here, after talking with the directors of each department, about how many employees, regular employees, would be impacted. And what strategies we could use to help alleviate that issue.
These all concurrent, so are those 20 police officers always like, 9 to 5?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily officers, but yeah, 20 police employees, 9 to 5, regular business hours that we would need to help find a place to park. So some strategies that we plan to employ are stacking cars in the little space behind the alley. They already do that to some extent. The police department will be relocating vehicles from their police department lot to create space for employees to park, and they will be able to find space for all of their employees in that lot. The fire department is already working on removing the shed. The ramp has already been removed behind fire station #1 to create additional parking that they don't need, but other town departments need behind their building. This is another conservative estimate, but not to back to resurface and restripe that area for parking. We put in 10,000 for that. There was a request to install signs for employee-only parking in those locations, given that we've committed to not have them park in public areas. And then there was support for the employee-focused shuttle that I'll get to. It's one of the last strategies that would also benefit town employees. So one of the lower budget strategies. So the smart parking pilot, Craig and our IT department has put a lot of work into this. We went back and forth quite a lot in our group about where the cameras would be most beneficial. These were some of the considerations that we gave. We wanted to encourage people to park in those areas that they're not parking. And we have data that shows where those areas. We also felt like we should generally point people to where we don't have time restrictions and point people to where there's lots of capacity. We try to avoid the areas that will be under construction. And then we did think that there's a benefit. There's kind of a synergy between a lot of these tactics. And if we could point people to where we also have a shuttle, that's another. And then we tried to keep costs low as much as possible. So just to review real quick, this is our parking length of stay and occupancy study. Can't see this real well, but you can see that we mostly have available parking in the town hall, community center area, Center Street, Elm Street, and then further south and north on Salem Street. This was the Thursday study. And then the Saturday study, still the same general areas had availability. All of the locations that Craig has priced out are shown here, but the ones that the group is recommending are in bold. So we are recommending that we do the smart parking pilot for Elm Street, where people aren't really parking frequently now. The Seaboard lot, Moore Street, we definitely need to get more people to park in that new lot. And then Town Hall. There is both a startup cost and then an annual cost for monitoring these spaces and changing technology. 43,000 was already included in this budget, but if we do all these spaces, it's going to take more. And then there's a cost for digital signs. So these are basically TV looking displays that we could have mocked up to look like our permanent wayfinding, and they could be repurposed in other locations after this project. This just shows the map recommending Town Hall, Elm Street, Moore Street, and then where those digital displays would go. Basically keeping them out of the residential areas, so we don't have a digital display right in front of somebody's house. Avoiding historic resources and putting them before those decision points about where you have to turn. Okay, that's it for that one. So I'll go back to see if you have questions.
Why did we not include Hunter Street Park in scope here? Because there's a lot of parking space there.
Yeah, we considered both Hunter Street and Town Hall. We didn't include both because of the cost and thinking that this is a pilot. So it could definitely be included. It feels like a shorter walk to take the strollway. Even if it's not shorter, it feels shorter to park at the community center and just take the strollway over. So ultimately, that's why I recommended Town Hall. One of the strategies was to minimize the impact of special uses, special events, parklets, that sort of thing downtown. This one is being referred to the Parks and Rec department to further evaluate. So I don't really have an update for you on this one today, except to note that it will be further work. Okay, and then the employee-focused shuttle pilot, we're calling it, that you asked us to investigate a little bit further. Benton is currently doing this. They have a parking deck under construction that's impacting their lots. They're providing a little shuttle for people visiting and employees right now. So we talked with them. They did it pretty simply. They have very simple temporary stops. They provided the office managers with a phone number for the shuttle driver. They're having their security staff actually drive the shuttle. They highly recommended it because of the positive response that they got from their office. We did an additional survey of businesses. We had 30 respondents representing retail, office, service, and restaurants. And we looked at how we could do this for a lower cost than we originally investigated. In terms of the response from the businesses, it's still kind of 50-50 across the board. So 27% said yes, their employees would use it, 43% were unsure, and some said no, definitely not. We asked, how important do you think parking shuttle service is for your employees? Still about 40% now said somewhat important. 43% were neutral, and we still have some that are saying it's just not, we don't need it. We asked about benefits. The majority said that it would reduce parking stress for their employees and that would help with that feeling of safety. We asked what days it would be most important, and this helped us to determine how we would staff it. And except Saturday was higher than Monday, but for the most part, Monday through Friday is the most important, which corresponds with when we're doing the parking time restrictions. And then in terms of time of day, business hours and early morning were still most important. So that helps to know that, you know, we could have a regular business hour employee to operate the shuttle if we do this. We asked about the style of service, and hybrid was preferred. That would be fixed route during peak hour, you know, arriving at work, leaving work times, but allowing people to make a phone call or text the driver if they needed somebody to be picked up. Otherwise, that is what Fenton does as well. And then we looked at a possible route using the lots just around Salem Street. So potentially Mason Street Municipal Building, Town, Hunter Street Park. We would utilize the drop-off stops that you approved, the 2 drop-off stops on Salem Street to drop people and pick them up, and then Eastmore Street. And that takes about 8 minutes one way, so pretty quick to get between these places. So our proposal to temporarily repurpose the police department van, which they are on board with. We did ask. It would have to be taken out of service for emergency use. So we just have to let people know that that's the case in our marketing for this shuttle. We've made very minimum investment. I mean, like a tent, some chairs, and a yard sign for the stops, just to keep people dry and out of the sun. Operated Monday through Friday, 7 to 6, the hybrid approach. We would give the business managers the option to text if they needed to arrange for somebody to come and get a pickup. We're proposing using 3 LSCs just to give flexibility in working with the staffs of LSCs, their schedules. And our recommendation is to reevaluate this after 4 months. And if nobody's using it, or it's very limited use, consider this strategy. And part of the reason is most of the cost of this, since we're able to use the police department van, is fuel and personnel. So if nobody is using it, those are costs that we wouldn't have to continue to spend over the 8 months or so of construction. So total cost there, I feel pretty confident, is about $90,000. That's the overview. Just to go back, here's the overall budget summary. You already got your input on one thing that we need to take a closer look at. If there's any other comments, we're happy to hear those and prepare this for budget requests.
Thanks for the presentation. Great job. Any questions for? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're moving on now to that Lakeland Connections update. Before you get started, I just received information that Beth Plain, the resident of the nation, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday. Yeah, you were on. Go ahead. Happy birthday, man.
All right, good afternoon, Marla Newman, Community Development and Neighborhood Connections Director. I have a very limited part today. I'm going to yield the floor to both our Community Engagement Manager, Brianne Gill, who will be followed by the Ask Apex Call Center Manager, Darla Bryant. Come on up, Brianne, and here's the remote right here for you. And those will be our two agenda items, community engagement and Ask Apex. So I'm going to yield the floor to Brianne.
Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I am Brianne Gill. I am our community engagement manager. I am super excited to be here. I started in January and I cannot believe I'm just shy of a 1-year anniversary. So what is that, 9 months? It's been an exciting 9 months. I look forward to many more years here. I want to, first, before I jump into the slides, acknowledge Jimmy Torres, who is our new community engagement specialist.
Yeah.
On week 6, right? Week 6. So we are so happy and thrilled to have Jimmy a part of our team. He comes to us with a wide range of experience. He is no stranger to Apex. But I am so super excited to be working with Jimmy. And I also want to acknowledge Marla, who hired me and who has been really a wonderful leader as we have developed these programs. So everything that we'll discuss today, Marla already knows from front to end, front to back. But okay, I'm not going to take up too much time. I can talk, so I'm going to stick to the slides. So community engagement, let's engage. So what we do, so community engagement, our division, we facilitate effective and impactful relationships with community members with a focus on our residential community. So we want you to remember just 4 main points that kind of sum it all up. We build healthy relationships with neighborhoods that create an avenue for two-way dialogue. So we support our communications team, hi Stacy, in making sure that we have an informed community, but we want to take it a step further and really join hands with our neighborhoods and say, now that you have that information, what do you do about the information about volunteering with the town of Apex? How do we encourage you and empower you to be engaged and want to be a part of all of these opportunities that are all of the opportunities that are available through our different programs and through our different departments within the town of Apex. So creating opportunities that welcome two-way dialogue. We also provide programs that promote inclusive civic engagement, leadership development and empowerment. And how we do that is through some of our programs and initiatives that we refer to as the building blocks. So we'll jump into what those programs are in a second. And then we also build healthy community partnerships. So what do we mean by healthy community partnerships? We want to prioritize connections over contacts. So when we are in our neighborhoods and we are in the community, we are able to point to different service providers, to point to different faith-based organizations, point to different businesses that provide programs and services to the town of Apex residents. So we want to, again, prioritize connections over contacts. And then we believe that taking some of these approaches and prioritizing some of our objectives and our goals will make positive contributions to making sure that we have vibrant and healthy neighborhoods. So taking resident-driven approaches to inviting our neighbors in, to creating two-way dialogue with our neighborhoods, and that we believe that will create positive change in our community. Let me slow down. So building blocks, as I just referred to, building blocks is a collection of programs and trainings that support inclusive citizen engagement, leadership development, community empowerment, and neighborhood to town two-way dialogue. So just to sum it up, it's our umbrella of programs and initiatives that I will jump into now. So first, we have our neighborhood registry. Our neighborhood registry is the formal list of neighborhoods within the town and its ETJ that have signed up to collaborate with the town. Our registry is actually live. So if you want to check it out, it's on our website, on our community engagement website. What's really cool about our neighborhood registry is that we're asking that our neighborhoods self-register. So they go and they visit it's an interactive map. They fill out a survey and they give us information about their neighborhood. What's the culture of their neighborhood? Who are their neighborhood leaders? When do their neighborhoods meet? And what they do is when they fill out that survey, we then take that information and we put it on on this interactive map. I want to do a huge shout out to our planning team. Jenny, Will, and Shannon have helped us develop this system. It is the tool is within our ArcGIS system. So we're really excited about it. So again, the registry will help us communicate, assist, and overall build healthy relationships with neighborhoods that are located within our community. And we did just want to highlight that our registered neighborhoods will receive additional support, training, and leadership development opportunities from the CD&C department, including an affiliate membership in Neighborhoods USA. And Neighborhoods USA is a national nonprofit organization that has been around for a very long time. And their purpose is bringing neighborhoods together from all over the world and sharing resources. And, just a wonderful opportunity for community engagement staff, neighborhood association leaders, and HOA leaders to come together and just to discuss best practices that are found within neighborhoods that build strong and healthy neighborhoods. So again, check that out and make sure your neighborhood is registered. We want to make sure that we have all of our neighborhoods are part of our neighborhood registry. Next, we have our training. So our trainings are workshops which support civic knowledge, leadership development, and skill building. We wanted to just list a couple of trainings that we're looking at or prioritizing. How to start your neighborhood association. Asset mapping, what does that look like? How do we bring neighbors and how do we bring our neighbors together to talk about the talents, skills, and resources that are not only found within our community, but right here within our neighborhood. So what does that look like? Building community and public safety collaboration. So holding these trainings and saying, how do we create watch groups? How do we collaborate with our first responders? How do we make sure that our neighbors are aware of safety best practices? Community leadership. So that's just your leadership series about all things leadership styles. How do we, and we believe that this series will actually be really impactful because not only does it offer personal development opportunities, but it's also helping you build leadership tactics that you can use right there in your neighborhood and on your job and in everyday life as well. Also cultivating new neighborhood leadership. We know that most of the time, our HOA leaders or our neighborhood association leaders will often pass the baton. So once we pass the baton, what are the skills and best practices that we want our leaders to have within our neighborhoods? And then also measuring success in our organization.
Is this happening today?
It'd be nice, but we are excited about the development of these trainings, and we are looking at hosting our first training in January. You're welcome. Thank you for that question. Next, we have our Neighborhoods Leader Summit. Our Neighborhood Leader Summit is an annual gathering of resident leaders of community groups and neighborhood associations to learn, share insight, and strengthen collaboration with the town. And things to look forward that are a part of this event are networking opportunities, knowledge and resource sharing, collaborative discussions, and then also leadership and skill building sessions. And we have been talking about maybe just having a keynote with different breakout sessions. And then also, as I highlighted, having a networking portion. We'd love to have our town staff there, which will enhance town connectivity, right? So you all get to know who's the incoming president of Apex Exchange. What are Apex Newcomers Club? What are they doing? What's their mission? What's their vision? So I think it's an awesome opportunity to bring our leaders, within our neighborhood to the table together.
I think this is awesome. Like, I wonder if annual is almost not often enough. Like, is there an opportunity to do it maybe quarterly or monthly kind of get togethers, breakfast sort of? And I was kind of skimming ahead because I know there's some other stuff I don't want to touch on that, but like, I think this is really cool to give people an opportunity, HOA presidents and networking groups and social groups to have some sort of regular cadence that they can meet with us and meet with the town and bring stuff forward kind of in a formal fashion. That does anyone know the mayor's phone number or Terry's email address and try to reach out and find how to fix a pile or something? This could be an avenue for engagement that I think might be pretty popular.
We're excited about it as well. Look forward to seeing you there. Thank you all there.
Put your email.
We're all familiar with Think Apex Awards and Think Apex Day. So you may know that Think Apex Day and Think Apex Awards now lives in our Community Engagement Division, CD&C department. Think Apex Day is a day dedicated to giving back to the Apex community. So you all know that each of our town departments come up with a really cool community service project. that welcomes our residents and our community members to come together to give back and make positive contributions to the Apex community. We also have our Think Apex Awards, which allows town officials to recognize businesses, individuals, and nonprofit organizations and youth for their dedicated service to others in the Apex community. And we also want to just note that we are looking at different opportunities to expand upon our community service projects, because we don't want to limit the capacity for people to come together to give back to our Apex community. So that's one of our priorities.
I think I made this comment earlier this year after the Apex Day, because like the teams like, top out so quickly. Right, and can we do them more frequently, right? So, get more people an opportunity to sign up, get more stuff done around town. I'll go cuts in like 4 times a year. It's fun. So, I think there's room to make it a bigger, I'm really excited about it. But, like you said, trying to register earlier this year, things were basically filled up before I got to it. And so, okay, I want to help, but I get one time a year, I can, right? And I struck out.
I think that's part of the mentioning of how we kind of broaden it and enhance it so that there are greater opportunities for folks to get involved. Because like you say, we top out so fast. So how can we create more project opportunities and give more people an opportunity to serve?
So my thought is you do more in April, because you try to do it in August, nobody's gonna sign up. It's too hot. So I think expanding the springtime ones would be more, to me, make more sense than doing a summer one, because I just don't think people are gonna show up summer one.
Thank you.
Or do indoor projects in the summer, and
Well,
build 3 main sections or something.
would need to be indoor, I think, if it's in August or July.
Next, we have Chat and Chew. So Chat and Chew are just gatherings hosted by residents who invite neighbors and friends over for informal conversation. So another opportunity for us to go meet our neighbors and meet our residents where they are, right within their neighborhoods. We're thinking that people will hoping that people will take advantage of the opportunity just to invite 4 to 6 people over, so a small gathering. We don't anticipate you inviting 20 people within your home, but just starting small. And Jimmy and I are really excited about the opportunity to go and take information to these different Chat and Chew gatherings that our residents are holding within their neighborhood. So we hope to see people hold it within their homes or within their community gathering space. But I want to note that if you're watching live, you can actually sign up to host your own Chat and Chew day. So that link is live on our website as well.
So is this going to be where the town would support this somehow, or we would just, or we're looking for neighbors to invite us over to talk with them about? Is it a specific issue or just in general?
Just in general. So just not topic specific gatherings, but just in general, having community conversations. It could be about an issue. It could be about a event going on within your neighborhood. But it's a pilot program, and we're just looking forward to seeing how it evolves.
The town staff would be at each of these or not?
If invited, and we're ready to bring information. If that's an option, we can bring information to you if it is about a specific issue. But we hope that our residents feel comfortable with inviting us in so that we can be a part of those conversations and help facilitate some of those conversations.
I bring this up because something similar to this happens with some frequency, and typically it's issue based. Something's going on, there's a stop sign, there's a car accident, a light or some issue. And neighbors will get activated to come together as a group, and they'll invite someone to come over, one of us, come speak to them. So I'm guessing, I'm trying to understand, is there a way to merge those two where you sort of turn those, if someone approaches us and says, hey, we have to want to talk about topic A, B, or C, you say, oh, that sounds like a Chat and Chew, contact our staff here, they can help you, organize it? Will we support with, you guys bring some like a veggie tray? Like, are we gonna, like exactly what?
We want them to provide the food.
Sounds well, okay, they provide the food, that's good.
Yeah, but we're gonna come.
Are you saying this already happens?
Well, I mean, this is what happens with us, like people will call us,
Okay.
hey, so we got 5 or 6 of us are getting together, we're all this thing, we wanna talk to our elected officials, we'll say, great, let's want to talk about it, come over to the house and
Well, this is a great forum to.
I just don't want to get it bogged down in
Problems.
process, right?
Right.
So, oh, you have to talk to staff to, if he asks to come, it's like, well, didn't I just do that? Like,
Yeah, but if it's a way, for some of these conversations, it would be nice to have staff there. Sometimes, I mean, people typically don't even us over to hang out. Like usually something's going on. And they need information about something.
But part of
Yeah,
the,
speaking for myself.
part of the idea is to be proactive and just have conversation, because sometimes people have great ideas, but don't have the opportunity to surface those or just have a question. I mean, I appreciate let's address some of the issues that you have, but also maybe before there is an actual issue, let's just have a conversation. If you have a question or interest in anything, staff can come and talk with you about it, and also encourage folks to, get active in some of the various activities that are going on, volunteer opportunities. So really just an opportunity informally to build connections and inform.
And so to scale this, right, because if you get 5 people in a room, okay, that's great, right? But how do you kind of carry the message from there, right? And so I'm almost thinking that maybe we could play this through like HOAs or something where we offer to come speak to an HOA meeting, just have a conversation, right? And then let the HOA kind of like in their newsletter or whatever, kind of spread the word so you have deeper reach than just a few people that you speak to.
Well, so it's not really designed for the larger community as much as, how people just get together and they have a question about something and they say, well, let's just have a conversation. So it's not really intended to be a formal communication channel as much as just another opportunity for residents to have a conversation with city officials and understand some questions that they may have, or again, offer some ideas or suggestions based on something they've observed, but still really informal, very informal rather than a formal kind of gathering, and just to have more communication.
And I think you may find that there are some neighborhoods, that there are small pockets of neighborhoods that are not going to necessarily be a part of those large groups, the conversations. And this is where they would probably be more comfortable in having, those discussions.
And some of our neighborhoods don't have HOAs either. So
I like the idea, like, I just wonder what the uptake would be, something like this, right? Other than, hey, like, I got something I'm frustrated about, let's go, let's email Terry.
And I think we'll still see those happen, and we by no means want to get between the elected official and a group of people that have asked them to come and speak. So that's not our intent. It's for those other groups, because there might be common themes that we have already prepared information on, that 6 different groups of these chat and choose they want to hear. So we've already got them. And I think what we're doing here is we're throwing a lot of strategies at this. This is new, right, for all of us. And some of it may grow into, okay, well, we posted 50 of these and that's becoming overwhelming. And so we've got to look at scale and how we approach that. And maybe it is, unfortunately, maybe it would go more towards the HOA groups, and that's what we have to do during that scale. So some of this is going to be trial and error as we figure it out.
I look at this,
I was gonna say, we have the annual training that a lot of people have been involved in, right? And that training in itself basically gives people fact-based information to then take to their community and to help neighbors understand the proper channels to work through, right? And these are just smaller groups that basically accomplish this similar ideas, right? We're trying to help them understand how the community works, how they can get to the proper channels to get their questions asked if need be, or how to just express a concern. Right. So, and it's smaller bites instead of these huge events that people have to either take off work from or, to be able to go to.
Really provides a formalized process, or just a process, so that people can say, hey, we're talking about this. Maybe we want somebody from town staff or town council to show up. Or maybe in order to make people want to show up to an HOA event, now they know they can come to community development and say, Terry's going to be there. You can not come. But I think that's a great way of formalizing the process, and it also gives us a sensor feed as well, which is if we start to see 4 or 5 neighborhoods talking about the exact same thing, that gives us a lot more visibility, so we can say, hey, Randy, we're seeing this as a trend, or you'll see it as a trend and be able to come to us and say, by the way, we may want to take a look at X, Y, and Z down the road. So I think that it's a good sensor feed for us with regard to trying to identify and recognize trends in advance. So I fully support.
Thank you. Very excited to see. All right. Anybody else? All right. So, next we are really excited about our Before Lunch series. So before brown bags to building bridges. And we're looking at hosting these events on a quarterly basis 4 times a year. And it's really just a 45-minute lunchtime discussion with various town representatives. So very similar to our Peak Academy. But overall, really what it is we're inviting people in, come bring your lunch, stop by, bring your lunch wherever, but bring your lunch and just have a informal conversation about how we do the work that we do. So it's just another opportunity that promotes town connectivity. 3 objectives that support this program are the opportunity to interact directly with town staff, the opportunity to learn and ask questions about what is the work that we do, and then also it creates the opportunity to explore behind the scenes of how we work.
Would you film these and put them on YouTube? I think
I do.
people might watch these
That's a good idea.
who can't attend. Okay.
Thanks.
We've got that down.
Yeah.
Create a library. Okay, nice. Next, we are really thrilled and excited about the opportunity to introduce our neighborhood beautification grant. The Neighborhood Beautification Grant Program strives to strengthen Apex neighborhoods by encouraging residents to work together to identify and complete a project that has the potential to enrich their neighborhood. We did just want to note that this program will prioritize legacy neighborhoods and those without HOAs, because we know that our legacy and our older neighborhoods may not have, do not have the same support that our neighborhoods have that are managed by our HOAs. So we wanted to include a quick timeline. We are already in the process of doing neighborhood outreach. Someone mentioned earlier just about the importance of meeting with neighborhoods. So that's something that we are already doing. Jimmy has been a wonderful support in just helping us reach out to neighborhoods and saying, hey, can we come talk to your neighborhood association? Can we come talk to your HOA about all of these awesome programs and initiatives? And can we enlighten you about our neighborhood beautification grant that we will be rolling out for next year? So we are looking at hosting 3 different information sessions, which will be a requirement for our neighborhoods who want to apply to receive the grant. So we want to make sure that you come and take advantage of the opportunity to really learn about what the grant is, the purpose of the grant, and you get all the information that you need that will help you complete that survey process, the application process. We're looking at making sure that the application is ready, live, and it opens on January 20th with a deadline of February 20th. Application review from February to March, February 21st to March 7th. We're hoping to have a grant decision. So we already are building out our scoring matrix. So we have different components of how we grade the different applications and projects. We've got our criteria all ready to go. And we are in our final stages of just making sure, final stages of completing our booklet that will be available for people, for our residents who are interested in applying for the grant. We have that, we'll make sure that our contract preparation stage is over by April 4th. And then we hope that our neighborhoods can begin their project initiations by April 18th.
Just in time for spring.
Just in time for spring. We do hope that we see a lot of neighborhoods who are looking to enhance their neighborhood entrance, want maybe minor repairs on their fencing, want to beautify their gardening within their community space. So we want to make sure that our neighborhoods know that this is an opportunity not for us to do repairs on property, privately owned property, but the project is supposed to support public spaces, that those general gatherings. Calm down, Brianna, slow down. General gathering spaces within neighborhoods.
Can you send that to the council, that scoring matrix? I really enjoyed looking at those. We've done the schools one, and I had some thoughts, and I hopefully made it a little better, but I'd love to see that. Okay. I think maybe the whole council together would. Thanks.
So in conclusion, I believe this is, oh wait, just one more slide after this. But what have we been up to since January? I like to call this our quick scrapbook. We have been intentional and deliberate about building relationships within our community, getting to know who our nonprofits are, who are our service providers, and what are the services and the resources that they offer the Apex community. Also, like I mentioned earlier, working to meet with our neighborhoods. So if you have the question of how can we help, how can we assist you all in your efforts, please connect us to your HOA, connect us to your neighborhood association, because we are in the process of building out our timeline and building out our engagement calendar. We want to make sure that we have ongoing progress of how many neighborhoods we're meeting with and making sure that this information is available to them. So first row, that's just a photo of us. I think we were talking with our Apex Newcomers Club. So again, just increasing visibility within our community and giving them the insight of what's to come. I threw a photo in there of the White Oak Foundation Resource Center. We met with Pastor, I don't know what that's his name. Tyler, thank you. But they are awesome. So that not only is White Oak a faith-based organization here in Apex, but they also have this really cool resource centers that has so many different opportunities of how they service the Apex community. So we met with them just to discuss what a partnership looks like with them, and then also how can we convey the information of all of the different resources that they offer the Apex community. Really quickly, we have a photo of some residents taking our community needs assessment at our 2024 housing fair. I wanted to throw a photo up there to the right. We have been working really hard with our communications team and designing how we promote these different events. Strategic planning cycle. So we've been in the works of building our vision, our mission, our values, and then also how do we measure success for our division, but our individual programs as well. That's a photo of Jimmy and I believe we were at the Latino Arts Festival. So again, that points to another goal of ours, which is to increase visibility within our community, taking information and having those intentional and deliberate conversations with our residents and our community members at large. Earlier this year, we did a peer-to-peer survey where we sent out a survey to all of our town departments and asked them just some really quick questions about what is the information that we can convey on your behalf when we are meeting with our neighborhoods, when we are at a booth, at an event, at a festival. What is some information that you want us to convey on your behalf of your department? I threw a photo of the NUSA conference. Earlier this year, we were in Texas, so I spoke a little bit about NUSA earlier, a national nonprofit organization that brings neighborhood leaders, community engagement staff from all over the world together to talk about best practices, about how we deliver services and how we create opportunities for two-way dialogue, how we empower our residents, and how do we build strong, healthy, and vibrant neighborhoods. We also sit on our Wake County Western Regional Advocacy Committee, so that's a great opportunity for us. Every single month, we meet with the town of Morrisville, we meet with the town of Cary, and we meet with different service providers that service Western Wake. And this is a great opportunity for us to come and have lunch and just discuss all of the great things that are happening within our towns and our cities. We also make sure that we are present at our Apex Police Department service groups and Faith Alliance meetings. And that's another opportunity for us to really just receive information about all of the services and all of the organizations that are right here in Apex and that service Apex. Two photos down here. That's again, I believe that our Apex Newcomers, that was in February, they were having an event where they were creating Valentine's Day cards. So again, we've made sure that we met with our Apex Newcomers Club. We know where our Apex Exchange Club and meet at the IHOP. We know where our Rotary Club, they used to meet at the Carrabba's. But that's one of our goals, is to make sure that we know where our civic groups are right here in Apex, so that we can be a part of all of the great things that they're doing, and also connect them to our different community members. That's the event really quickly at our Juneteenth event that we made sure that we were at. just to, again, have impactful and deliberate conversations with our community members. We also wanted to point that we did do a community needs assessment from April to June. And this was an awesome opportunity for us to encourage our community members to give feedback. We got a lot of wonderful insight that provided a lot of data that we will refer to as we deliver the work that we do. So we had about 1,912 views. We had 815 participants complete that assessment with 13,837 responses, and we received 775 comments. And we do have that report that we are looking at making sure is ready and live on our website. One thing that was really cool about our community needs assessment, there's a question on that assessment, I think it's the last question, that said, if you could create one really cool community project right within your neighborhood, what would it be? So we had tons of comments of community members and residents answering what that community project would be. And again, we're just happy and excited to refer back to that as we continue to develop some of these programs.
I have a question.
Yes.
So are we sending somebody currently to the community health needs assessment meetings that are occurring in recent? Okay. I participated in that in 2019. And I think at the time, I'm not sure if the town manager or the police chief at the time was going with me. So that I think that might be something wonderful for the
Okay.
but basically Wake County goes through that process every 3 to 4 years and updates where funding might be going to address community health needs.
Okay.
It defines health very broadly. Okay. So including transportation needs and housing, all the above.
Okay.
So I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah, any connections you can provide for me? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
And so for our last slide, what's next? Next up in 2025, what are we looking forward to? We are looking forward to our trainings beginning monthly. Our trainings will begin in January and they will happen on a monthly basis. Our Think Apex Awards will be held April 8th, with our Think Apex Day being held on April 26th. Our B4 Lunch Series, March, June, September, and December, so 4 times a year. And our Neighborhood Leader Summit, I mentioned that earlier, that we are looking forward to having that in November of 2025. Our Chat and Chew, we're hoping that we are overwhelmed with residents and community members who are excited about signing up to host their own Chat and Chew. So I noted that will be scheduled on an ongoing basis as scheduled. And then also ongoing as scheduled is Jimmy and I meeting with our neighborhoods and conveying information on behalf of the town and having just impactful and deliberate conversations. That's all I have, I think. Let me make sure. Contact us, Jimmy and I. This is our generic email, community engagement at Apex NC. But thank you so much for your time. I hope that it wasn't too long. And I will welcome Darla. Questions, I'm sorry.
I do have a question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you for your presentation. Very thoughtful. You were well prepared. It's very evident that you got passion for this. 2 questions. One for you. Can you help explain a little bit about how to get to the community to your webpage? Because I think it's in our overall webpage, it's not the most intuitive place. Because if you go to community tab, you would think you would find you guys there, but you're not. You guys are on your target. So you mentioned it's a lot of stuff that's on the webpage. So for those who are watching, just briefly explain where your webpage is at.
Sure. It's so you go to the Town of Apex website, type in community. You can go to the departments tab, I believe, and then you'll go to community development and neighborhood connections tab, and then that will lead you to our generic, our main site for our department, and then we have different tabs for each of our divisions. So our housing tab, our Ask Apex tab, and then our community engagement tab. Click on the community engagement tab, and that will lead you to the community engagement microsite. And then if you want more information about our different programs and initiatives that fall under the building blocks, we have our own building blocks page under that microsite. That might have been confusing.
Outstanding. No.
But you'll go to our department page.
The CDNC website, at the very top, you'll see a photo and then 3 different links right to each division.
that's just to make it clear, because I know that you may go on our main webpage, you go to community.
You
got-
will be able to do that in about 5 minutes.
Cool.
Oh,
And then, the next question I have, is more of a comment, and it might be a segue to our next component, which is Ask Apex. Brandy, Marla, can you identify some way to integrate, this division into our workflow for public forum? Because I do feel like there's a lot of things that come out of public forum, and we should be leveraging you guys to help address some of those questions and concerns as they come up. So I've got ideas on how to do it, but I'd love for you guys to kind of think of ways to integrate how we can better utilize this amazing team workflow when we get questions and comments and things like that. Look at public forum as the OG and ask anything.
I have another comment too. I think this is great. I love to hear the plans about what we're gonna do to engage community. And I'm sure you think about this, but what I'm really interested in learning, 6 months from now or a year from now are some metrics around how many events we have, how many people attended them, and some trends over time. To see how we're doing with community engagement and have those conversations about how we can grow it. It's a total thing.
absolutely.
I just want to add one thing, going back to the website. By the way, great presentation, a lot of stuff here, and I think this is going to be extremely beneficial for the community. My question is, I'm seeing like different social media pages for different departments, which I think is great. Is there a plan to do that for this department so they can know more about this? Because a lot of people just don't go straight to the website, so how do we get them there?
That is on our wish list of things to do is have some social media presence so that we can keep people updated, ping them when we're getting ready to have a new class or whatever, and push out the chat and choose. So that is on our wish list, and we'll work with communications to see if we can get something up and running in the near term.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, appreciate
Any
it.
more questions? All right, thank you all.
Hello, everyone. I'm Darla Bryant, and I am the call center manager. We have recently named our call center Ask Apex, as you can see. And so I'm really excited today to provide you with an update about where we are with our call center. So a lot of you probably knew, I don't know how to work these things, but a lot of you probably knew about the call center well before I even knew about the call center. I was hired in late January, and I'm going to give you an update as it is through the lens of Darla since late January. Okay, so as you can see here on this screen, we're going to go take a look back and talk a little bit about the plan very briefly. So before I came here, there was a plan to start maybe a call center, and there was some research that was done through an agency called Panorama Consulting, and they reached into the town staff, and there were a number of folks who had some input to help create some understanding about what should we do with a call center or not a call center. And that plan included Panorama doing a bunch of research with the community, with the town, and just research in general about what it would mean to start up a call center. And we learned through that research and through Panorama that our residents really do like to engage with us either on the phone or in person, or online, right? There was pretty much a split decision amongst all of those areas. So the decision was that we would create a centralized call center with inbound calls. Then we started to figure out, well, we're gonna need a staff, so people to work that call center. And so I'd like to take this opportunity to ask my staff to stand. We have 4 of the 5 here today. Bumi, Aribanjo, Gonzalez, they are 4 of the 5 folks that we have recently hired to help staff the call center. So our plan was that we would begin this call center in January. However, many of you may be aware that we are already on the phone talking to people. We are talking to residents. We've had much of a need from recent events to service our community. So they jumped right on in there with no training, but just their professionalism and expertise. And they supported billing, or they are still supporting billing and collections. They've been in the lobby helping folks. They've been at Steffi's desk helping folks. So they've been all over. But we are, as of this week, back on a more formalized schedule that includes some training so that we can help to fortify their knowledge about Apex and fortify our expectations and standards for what we want to set forward for our first call or our call center, our call center as Apex. All right, so we have a staff that includes me and them. We were initially going to only hire 3 agents, but in Marla's infinite wisdom, she helped us to make it 5 agents. So we have 3 of them who are full-time and 2 of them who are part-time. So she forfeited temporarily one of her positions to create 2 part-timers because we need a little bit more. So as we learn as a town about what call centers entail, what they need to operate effectively, we will learn that you need more than 3 people to run a call center. Okay, so we have 5 to start. The plan from Panorama was, or the suggestion was, that we hire 8 agents. That suggestion comes from a calculation based upon their guesstimation. We can't really clearly understand how many calls come into the town because they come into all kinds of phone numbers. You all probably have heard this in the past, that we are getting calls to anyone and everyone about anything and everything. But the understanding was we get a collective amount of about 10,000 calls per month. And there are call center calculators that help you to understand how you should then staff. And so that led us to the number 8, which we hope to be up to at some point in the near future. And then also there's an ERP going on, which is a consideration of all of our technology. And so the call center is one of the main entities within the town that is participating in this ERP. And we have taken on some new technology, which I just got done providing configurable data for and testing. We're starting to our testing process. So I've been doing my testing. My team is beginning to test this week, and we will continue to do testing in the coming weeks so that we can implement or launch this new system that many of the town entities will begin using as well. So that's going to be our main system, as well as others that we are adopting that other teams use. Technology has been a huge part of our plan. So once I came on board, we began to implement some new things. One of them was the ICANN, which is my acronym for the Internal Change Agent Network, where we identified members of every Apex town of Apex department so that we could have a lot of input from the town. We're not going to erect this call center just by my knowledge and understanding, which I think is pretty good, but I know that I don't know everything about the town, right? So we needed to have as much help as possible in order to get our call center started. So we have lots of folks, about 30 people that participate in the ICANN and provide input to help us to make the best call center possible. We plan to have a soft launch of the call center next month. So by soft launch, what we mean is that our team who is already on the phone, so that was the plan, that we were going to put them on the phone in November and start to practice taking calls and start directing calls to them. That's what we mean by soft launch, but we are still doing that now that meaning has been changed just a little bit to mean that's where we're going to put the tool and kind of go live with the tool. They're already on the phone, they're already taking calls, but in a more formalized process that will happen in November. And then in January, we will have a more public launch, and that's where we've been working with communications and will continue to work with communications so that our residents and businesses will understand that the call center is available to them beginning in January. So as a result of all of these efforts, my evaluation of our process is that we do need to get some supervision and additional town services specialists to make an effective call center. So there's got to be more layers than just me managing the call center, so that we have people who can train and do quality assurance and all the things that a call center needs that you may or may not be aware of. It's me that's doing all of those things right now with support of an excellent team that are already showing a lot of leadership within the team. And of course, with Marla, who is my partner in crime for the moment. And we also need more broad and developed processes, including change management, to be implemented so that we can make sure that internally as well as externally, we understand what does this call center mean. Because as we continue to manifest and emerge, we are shining a light on a number of processes and different things that we are recognizing, hey, we haven't thought about that before. What are we going to do? We need to go ahead and maybe implement some new tactics, some new behaviors in order to be really effective. So as of today, we have the 5 town services specialists. I mentioned that 3 of them work full-time. 2 of them have been hired for part-time, but they've been working full-time in order to support our current incoming traffic. We also have some limited phone and in-person support for billing and collections. And we are also taking calls for other things because, as we all know, customers or residents don't necessarily follow what we think they should follow, right? They call for whatever they want. And they ask whoever's going to pick up the phone to help them with whatever they need. And so we're working on doing exactly that. And so they've been learning how to address any needs that our residents may have. And then as of this week, we've resumed our training. And so in the morning, they're taking calls from 8 to 12. And in the afternoon, we have a number of town subject matter experts that are coming in to nest with us and to teach us the things that we need to know, all the little nuances so that we can better support our residents. And then we are working, as I mentioned, on user acceptance testing or UAT. So right now there's been, it's an iterative process and we've had a lot of things that have happened, but we pretty much have the tool prepared for them and they're starting to practice with it, but we are still testing it and making sure that it's ready to go before we really go live with our residents. And that new tool will be launched officially in November and then for the public in January. And most importantly, we're working a lot with communications. I'm so excited for Stacy and Karen, who are very creative and they're coming up with a number of things in support of this project so that we can make sure that both internally and externally, everyone understands what's going on and what we're supposed to do. All right, so for the feature, I mentioned before we'd like additional staff, so that's going to be a feature ask. We'd like to build up to that 8 number plus supervision as was originally recommended. We'd like to break it down to either 1 supervisor and 1 quality assurance specialist or trainer, or in my mind, I'm thinking, I wrote that, but in my mind, really, we should hire 2 people that do all those things so that we can have that greater flexibility. And then the additional service specialist, maybe fortify the group that we have, make sure that some folks that are part-time become full-time and continue to work up to that number. We really would like to focus on business continuity. My joke, and everybody has heard this just about, is what happens if there's a zombie apocalypse? And we've had a zombie apocalypse or 2 already this summer, right? And so fortunately, we've had staff that has been here. Yeah, they're laughing because I've even caused dreams about zombie apocalypse with my staff. But, you know, we're grateful that we've been able to be here and jump in and be a part of the team. But we want to make sure that all of these plans are shored up and that we've strategically planned and plan for those things that what I like to call futures planning, things that we don't think are absolutely going to happen, but really plan for those because we recognize that the call center will be one of the first line of defenses, first line of communication. We recognize that. So we want to make sure that those plans are in place. And additionally, change management plans, working with the internal change agent network to ensure adoption amongst our community members and internally with our staff. Because just as much as this call center has been erected for the community, it's for our staff as well, right? Because they're getting calls from everywhere. And we want them to be able to focus and be the subject matter experts that they are, focus on their duties while we focus on our subject matter area of expertise, which is customer service. And then lastly, one of the things I'm very excited that we're going to be able to bring to you all is detailed forecasting and reporting. So once we have some data behind ourselves a little bit and we can start to determine some things, of course, we're going to forecast and we'll be able to make sure we have the right number of people in the right place doing what they were hired to do, right, at the right times. But we're going to be able to provide the town, you all, staff, with a lot of intel. So we're going to be able to have all of that information corralled, look at trends, provide metrics and all of that. So we're preparing that as well. And that is your update. I hesitated to put this in here, but let me just say briefly, these are some of the duties of the call center representatives. And I hesitated and I ended up putting it just as an example because they are some of their duties are morphing. So as we meet with our internal departments and divisions, the line of delineation of what we're going to take over and what they're going to release to us it's kind of a moving target right now. So we're talking with each of them individually, but for the most part, we do know they're going to receive incoming phone calls just about on anything. So we have to have a process in place that helps us to understand with whatever topic that caller is calling about, how do we handle it? And how do we not break what's working well for that department already, right? So we want to make sure that we either resolve it and keep it from going to that department so they can keep doing their good work, or that we send it to them because we know that they're the experts that need to handle that issue. So we're working on where those lines of delineation are, and they're different for each group. Of course, we're going to have high standards for service and hospitality, and those are two different things. Service is one thing, hospitality is another. We're a small town, or we've been a small town that's growing, and so hospitality is something that we're well known for, but service is a whole nother thing. Sometimes people just want to get in and get out and get what they ask for. And so we have to understand the difference between that. Me and my team are talking about that a lot. Of course, we're going to answer basic questions, interpret utility bill information, address trash, because there's a lot of trash talk in Apex, and submit electrical and water outage reports, resolve resident issues, and complete administrative duties and other things. So of course, that's a list of things we will of course do. We will do other things that relate to these departments over here, but these are areas that have, like for example, in Parks and Rec, we will of course, if somebody wants to know where a park is, we can tell them. But we're not going to handle registration days. That is something they do way better. And before we would get involved in something like that, we would have to have been around a lot longer and have a lot more exposure to how they do what they do and a lot more training. So those are examples of that line of delineation and things that we may or may not do. So that is actually the end of the presentation. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
So where does your work in the call center overlay with the 311 program? Because it sounds very similar, or it could be that the call center is a component of 311.
But they're the same.
It is that,
Okay.
right?
So there is no
Hope so.
311.
Yeah.
We are 311. So
Okay.
311 is just
So it's two separate things, right? That'd be
a
crazy.
name for what many municipalities call their call center.
Right.
We cannot be a 311 as it's been explained to me because of jurisdictional issues and what Cary already has their family firmly planted in. So we can't be called a 311 center. You cannot call 311 and get Apex.
That's
So
not
we are,
a good
yeah.
phone number, but more the general, but.
just for clarity,
Right.
we are the 311, but we are not called that. So we'll be called Ask
And
Apex.
so, okay, ask Apex. So what about the online process? Because you talked a lot about call center.
Excellent
I haven't heard
question.
anything about, an app or, Facebook, or like, how do people funnel their questions other than calling the town?
Excellent question. So an app that is on our wish list, other technology, artificial intelligence, chats, things like that are on our wish list, but not in our immediate plans. Facebook, social media, we'll work with communications until such time that if we share those duties, great, but we work with communications on them. In terms of online requests, right now, residents can report a concern by going to the town's website, and they will still be able to do that. Once this new technology through our ERP has been implemented, they will be asked to create a profile, a resident profile. And internally, it's through something called Rhythm. That's the external side of what we will be using as our tool to document all calls and information. And it's going to be very similar to Report a Concern, where they can go in, report their concern, choose the category, and it will be sent to us. And we will make sure that those issues come to resolution. So one of the important things that we learned from the research that Panorama Consulting did for us some years ago was that many of our residents are not confident in our ability to bring issues to their resolution as it pertains to their understanding. So every time I hear the word resolution brought up in our environment, I asked my team this yesterday, what does resolution mean to you? And then I tell them what it really means to us is resolution in the mind of our residents. So their online submissions are one other way that we're going to be able to capture their issues and bring them to resolution, but they will be able to submit them online. Not through an email, but through that portal.
in your presentation, you talked about additional staff. Give me and this might be for all of you, is this, like you need the staff day and we're looking at a budget amendment or is
No.
this?
Wait,
for-
To quote my colleague, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but we're not planning to ask for a budget.
Yeah, trying to get a sense of this, like, are we looking at this for the next budget?
Yes,
process?
yes.
And as we start to do that, well, I think one of the things that would be really useful for us, because as you know, finances can be tight.
Yep.
A forecast as to how, if there's any option for like phase in implementation. So, you know, you've got 3 towns specialists, you know, does that mean you need all 3 at once? Can we phase in one at one point in time?
Yeah.
Is there one that we can
Start up.
say? No, I mean, you don't have to answer that question now, but I think that's something that would be very helpful for us as we start to get.
So, but we're going to put some positions in our staffing plan for the next year. And the thinking is that once we are live, then we'll start being able to capture the data that supports positions. And it would be easier then to maybe ramp down rather than, oh my goodness, we need staff and we hadn't put it in the staffing plan. So we'll put it in the staffing plan for next year conservatively, and then we'll let the data do the talking when we get to you all at budget time.
But to add to that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, the anticipated need based on projections, what we know, even best practice at the conference you've been, the need is that 8. And so we're starting below that need. So we know what that means is our system will potentially be overwhelmed because
Initially.
we're understaffing to what our need is, but then we want to have the data to support it because it is a projection and estimate. And then we can bring that data to you and even go into the app question. We can say, okay, well, we really need 4 positions, but how about 2 in an app? And then maybe the app helps to divert some of that traffic and buys us a little more time as we ramp up the operation. So it'll be a combination of that, but we'll have more solid data now that we have people here and doing this job.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, I was just making it clear that if this was budget amendment discussion, all of this is.
Well, if I can help influence your thinking at budget time. And this is not just because I'm, because I'm managing the center, but really because I really believe in efficiency and I'm looking at the clock thinking, those of you who were off at 5, if you want to leave, you're welcome to leave, but if you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. But I like to manage time and I like to be very efficient, period. But to further answer your question, just to give you generalities, call center is a different animal than many of you may have ever. If you've never worked in a call center or around a call center, it's a little bit different than how we work administratively in other teams. And so one of the things that I spoke with Marla about, and very quickly she was on board, was like, if we have 3 people, have 1 out sick and 1 on vacation, who's answering the phone? Me and the other person, right? And so she immediately jumped into gear to help us make sure that we expanded that to 5. So you have to understand that, there's forecasting and different things that happen. And, so we have to have staff.
To be clear, the ask in my eyes for 3 is not, I'm like asking them, what I want is an explanation as to, is that actually going to meet the needs? Because I know we had a study that said 8, we're operating at 5, we're operating at a deficit, but at the time we had that study, different variables were in place. I feel like
that's correct.
Those variables may have changed, and I don't know whether that delta has changed.
Well, we already know too that other staff are filling in to help out because, we're hearing, people helping out with the issues the big issue that we've had recently, right? And we still continue to have people complain on Facebook that they can't get through. So we know that there's a deficit.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing that I'd like you guys to put forth a robust conversation.
Is there an opportunity here on that point to consolidate and absorb some positions in other departments? Our customer service in the town is all gear.
And that was a consideration in the beginning, and yes, that opportunity is still before us. So that is just a leadership decision. Definitely, if we want to take subject matter experts and help them to jump onto our staff, there are many ways that can be done. I did go to Carrie early on and to do some research and was reaching out to other 311 centers the nearby municipalities to find out what they did at their inception. And so that was one of the things they did. They took subject matter experts, threw them in a room, and that's kind of how their call center started, I was told. But there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. And as Marla had stated earlier, and as I mentioned earlier, we're working off guesstimates, pretty good guesstimates, but we're working off guesstimates. And once we have more intel and more information, we'll be able to kind of pivot and slice and dice and know exactly what we need. So I'm working on being able to kind of measure, even as we are practicing right now, we're using the technology available to us to look at how many calls we believe will come in, what types of calls are coming in, that type of, what are our needs, so we have fortunately 2 Spanish speakers on our staff. We have people who have different levels of expertise in other areas. How are we going to have to mix this up? So we're looking at all of those and preparing to pivot on a dime. And we'll be able to provide this information to you.
And we're already tracking the data, so we can already tell you how many calls we're taking, what kinds of calls. So we've been doing that from day one, once we got on the phones.
You also track what the calls that go to other departments right now, right? So the calls that you do not go into.
It's a more informal process, but some of those departments, like Steffi tracks at the reception desk, Laurel tracks and trash, but they're taking these things by hand. I'm using technology to help that, because I can even cut it down to, we got the most calls at 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. They're not able to always do that, right? But I can see that because I have enough information to slice and dice, and even do it down to the agent level. So I'm looking at everything they're doing, and as we grow, and I keep telling them this, but as we grow, then we're going to start tightening up on them, because their job is not just to answer the calls, but to answer them and handle them efficiently, to control the calls. And so we'll be working towards all of those measures as well. So we're going to put everything in a bucket. We'll make sure you have all of that. We'll send out reporting. You'll be able to see the trends and what they look like, all of them that are available to us. And if there's something that you're interested in seeing, it would be good to know in advance, because like I said earlier, there's a lot of ways that we can skin this cat, right? So I've been working with technology, who's been wonderful to try to utilize what we have available to us now, so that we can track the things that are important to us right now. And then as we move further into the future, of course, that list is going to grow and change a little bit.
Just had the question, I just worry about there being silos here. Like, it hurts the utility of the whole program. It's like, okay, I'm gonna call 311 or whatever it is. But, if I have some common question about Parks and Rec, we're just ringing for a flash. You can't say, oh, we have to call this one. It feels like every time someone calls, they get the correct department, people, like, they lose trust in the system. But a system where there's a one-stop shop, wherever problem you have, you call up, that's awesome.
That's what we want to be when we grow up.
Yeah, I want,
Exactly.
as far as the public is concerned, I want there to be one phone number out there, right? Ask APEX, just
Right.
is your phone number, right? And that's what you call, right? And whether you need, the receptionist or utility billing, right? That's the number you call, right? With 80% of the cases handled by the call center staff.
Yeah, so you're going to see a scrubbing of the website that communications will be doing in the near future. So right now, you'll see a lot of publications with phone numbers and email addresses, and a lot of that's going to go away, because people are going to call whoever they can get a hold of. We can't do anything about what's out there already, and we can't retract that. We're going to scrub the website. We're going to stop publishing. You'll only see, if it's, even when you call the online, call 911 if it's emergency. There'll be a police for our public safety, and Parks and Rec, I believe, is going to keep a number because there's some need for that. But then after that, it's just ask Apex, and we will handle the rest of it. So we'll make sure that the folks that need to get the information will get it, or we will handle it. All right, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to introducing this to the public in January. And if you have any further questions or suggestions, we are still, building this plane while we're flying it, but we're excited to do so. So we welcome your input. Thank you very much.
Good.
Good, yes, sir.
Nice. Engineer wants to do that. I know it's best.
Thanks for eating. Thank you. Yeah, put that right on there.
Scarred.
Unmuted.
Didn't Jeff say, Hastings say he was watching us right now? It shouldn't be. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. We're back in session. Is there a motion to go into full session?
Like that motion.
Second.
Thank you, get heard, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried. Again, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.